My name is Dr. Sali Ojo Jimoh, the current NBA chairman, Epe branch.
How would you evaluate what the NBA stands for from when the branch was commissioned till date?
The NBA branch was made a branch in 2015 during the tenure of the then president of Nigerian Bar Association, Ali Gay, or thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken. From then till now, NBA has traveled far. We are so blessed to have Prince A.S. Abimbola as the pioneer chairman, who reigned for 2 terms because of his laudable ideas and contributions to the growth of the Nigerian Bar Association as a whole, and Epe in particular. He was the pioneer chairman that laid the very foundation upon which the current administration stood. After he left office came Ademola Koko-led administration, where he served as the secretary. Then Mr. Omosheyi came thereafter, who eventually handed over to me in July this year as the 4th chairman of Nigerian Bar Association branch. Since then, Epe has been moving from glory to glory, from height to height. We have broken many records. Despite our young age, we have been able to secure a befitting land for our secretariat. That was achieved during my time as the secretary when Ademola Koko was the chairman. We were able to get that done in a very prime area in Epe. That we can proudly say. We know many other big and bigger branches in Lagos State that cannot even boast of even a quarter plot for their secretariat. They are still leveraging on Lagos State government. But it is not because we are that wealthy. I think it is because we are just forthright and ready to take on challenges. And we know that Yoruba people will say, Ile lagbon fidi si ṣoro. Anybody doesn't have a shelter on his head is empty. That was the foundation behind we strongly to ensure that we have a secretariat of our own that we can call our own. Where we are currently using at the High Court is too small and not presentable. I must say in the list.
If your predecessor was able to achieve that, it means that there's a whole lot for you to achieve. Can you run us into your plan as chairman?
Upon taking the mantle of leadership in July, the first thing I did was to rally around the Council of Elders. In fact, right from the inauguration point, center, I solicited for the support of all the elders of the bar. And then right there, the first person to make contribution was Prince A.S. Abimbola, who pledged to give us 1,000 blocks, followed by Mr. Toby Oshonuga, the MD CEO of Chateau Royal Real Estate Investment. We call it promise another 1,000 block. Then the king of all, Mr. Ademola Koko, the chairman, when I served as the secretary when we purchased the land, said, "You have all contributed, you have done well, but I will build the secretariat for you." So even without relying on our loan, we have equally have other plans. Should it doesn't work on time, we equally have other means looking at other direction to ensure that the secretariat is built before we finish 1 year in office. That's our target, and we are sure we are going to achieve it. Right now, we have the zero assignment. The surveyor is right now, as I'm speaking, the surveyor is there trying to do the survey of the land, and thereafter we'll be able to do the video plan. And as soon as Mr. Koko is not around, who told us, as soon as he comes back, once he has those documents, he will hit the ground running. So I'm sure we are going to build that secretariat this year by the special grace of Almighty.
There's no gainsaying that your plans are laudable. But I have also heard a couple of lawyers in your branch advocating for things like a cooperative society where lawyers can borrow money, they can also take advantage of available resources. Are you working in this light?
That is one of my manifesto, and immediately I was sworn in, I set up a cooperative society committee. The committee has obtained the form and has registered with Lagos State government as we speak. Involve more than members of the NBA, other members of the community, the member of the Nigerian Judiciary, the NBA, the Epe Society. Many are willing and are ready to join the cooperative because of the the class and caliber of people that we put as a board member of that committee and the committee itself. So it's a project on hand. It's a project that is ongoing, and we are sure we are going to achieve. And no kobo is going to be lost, and we are going to make a tremendous profit for anybody that is a member of the committee. It's part of our plan. In addition, we equally set up. There is another one I set up. I call it a SUSU committee. That SUSU is principally meant for the end of the year annual general conference. We noticed in the time past, people I remember hardly attend AGM, majorly because of fund. So we have now created a pause for it. A SUSU, we call it. If it's 2,000 that you have per month, we contribute. If it's 5,000, it's 10,000. We contribute. So by the end of that year, when AGM will be coming up, we'll be able to gather a lot of money to register for the AGM, because AGM is so important to the Nigerian Bar Association. But aside from being the branch importance, there is equally disadvantage of you going to relax. We cannot work 1 year round. We deserve to go on holiday. That 1 week is good for lawyers to go on holiday. And I assure by the next one, MBA will participate massively at the next AGM. I can assure you, because of those programs we have on ground. What brought about the issue of the cooperative society is born out of the fact that majority of us we don't have pension. We are practicing lawyers. There is no pension for us. There is nothing for us in the night except what you are able to save for yourself. I just look at it that our members are getting older. We have older men and women within us. Even the younger ones, no one knows what tomorrow will say. That was why I conceived the idea that we must create our pension for ourselves where there is none. That was what brought about the idea of the cooperative society, and I'm sure people are turning out. In fact, the first day we introduced it, about 3 members said that they are going to start with 500,000 and about 2 or 3 members. Baba Ogunlaja was the first one to bear the card. Then I followed Mr. Adesanya equally followed, and many other leaders of the bar show interest in ensuring that they participate and they contribute meaningfully to the growth of that cooperative society.
I can't help but remember you saying just a few minutes ago that a lot of people showed interest in the cooperative society because of the caliber of people on the board.
Yes, sir.
Can you mention names?
The number one person that I saddled with responsibility of that cooperative societies, we call him Dekin Tako, is my first chairman. He was the national treasurer of Nigerian Labour Congress when Adam Shomole was the president. He's a senior member of the bar, very respectable, very reliable, very efficient. And he has practiced, he has launched, he has pioneered many cooperative societies in different places where he worked. Even with him alone, many members are more comfortable. We have Abu Ogunlaja, we have Debakoko, we have our own Princess Abimbola. Many of those gurus in financial management and legal practice are members of the committee, and they are willing and ready to serve. Okay. Yeah, we have another woman, Mrs. Obi Ajegbo, very knowledgeable, very excellent, very efficient woman too, for that matter. Very prudent in financial management, and he has volunteered to ensure that we recorded success in the cooperative society.
One of the biggest challenges wherever money is involved is accountability.
Yes.
Are you sure, as lawyers, you will be accountable?
Where go wrong account-wise, we have put in place a very stringent measure to ensure that money can easily come in, but to go out becomes very, very difficult. One of such measures is that we created a separate account, independent of Nigerian Bar Association branch account for that, so that MBA money doesn't mix with cooperative society money. Because cooperative society is on its own, while MBA is on its own too. We now ensure that even if there is going to be any money that we are going to loan out to members, fine, that is the purpose of the cooperative society. But the condition is a bit stringent, though friendly, in the sense that before any money can leave that account, 2 members of the board of trustees of that cooperative society must guarantee any person that is taking the money, and whatever that person is taking must not be up to half of what the 2 of those guarantors have with the cooperative society. And we have made it clear to any guarantor that if the person you are guaranteed didn't pay, we have by contract can proceed against you to use your money to cover whatever they are taking from us. So I'm sure with that we will not lose any of our money.
Let's go away from the MBA pay and come a little bit into you personally now. Recently you became a doctor, so to speak.
Yes.
It's a laudable achievement. It's a whole lot of work. Very serious. How was the journey to being a doctor?
To be a doctor of law,
Yes.
it's not easy, I must say. I know personally that it affects my own legal practice because University of Ilorin will stress you out before you can get that their PhD. They are not doing it for fun. When we started, we were thinking, it is unnecessarily stress. But when we got to the middle of it, we were able to see that they are not doing it for fun. They are doing it to ensure that you are better. I have a copy of my PhD thesis here. It's about 600 pages. Is it? It's about 600 pages. So, to have sat down to research and be able to gather 600 pages doctoral thesis, you should know that it's not easy. And when the plagiarism test was done, it got 89.1% free. That shows it's about 90% free of any plagiarism. Because you learning will ensure that the wrong plagiarism test in your work before you can even submit any of your chapters. Okay. So it was not easy, but we thank God we were able to scale through. Particularly the area I wrote on is a very challenging, very peculiar, very controversial. The work is on the legal and institutional challenges in prosecuting judicial corruption in Nigeria. It's a very challenging corridor to pass. But we went, we saw, and we conquered.
Can you give us more insight into that particular area you studied?
Yes, I investigated primarily why the prosecution of judges accused of corruption in Nigeria, why does it fail in courts? By and large, many judges have been arraigned for corruption in Nigeria. There has never been a single conviction in any courts in Nigeria. The EFCC that we pride as very efficient, very energetic, very pro when it comes to corruption fighting. They are very, particularly when the prosecution, they are very, at least we can rate them 80%. They record 80% of conviction of any cases they try. But when it comes to issue of corruption in a judicial officer, they fail woefully. They could not secure a single conviction up to date. So that prone us to look at why. If you are this sharp, you were able to convict governors, convicted ministers, convicted technocrats, very many people thick and caliber, they convicted them. But when it comes to judicial officer, they could not secure a single conviction. Why? Many people are asking those questions on internet everywhere in contemporary discussion. That why? That was why we torchlight that area. And by the time we came out, we discovered we know the reasons.
In a nutshell, what are the reasons?
Well, there's what we call the theory of judicial brotherhood. Is critically one of them. And at that point in time, when this prosecution was going on, we discovered there is a kind of serious acrimony between the EFCC and the judiciary. They believe that EFCC is out there to persecute them, or that the executive arm of the government is trying to incur or enter into the judicial territory and colonize them. So the resistance was why I think majorly why the EFCC failed woefully to convict any judges. It is not that we are saying there is no corrupt judge or that those judges accused of corruption are saints. No. None of them have been tried up to date. None of them have been tried, so to say, because most of the conviction, most of the trial end in preliminary objection, striking it out that the court has no jurisdiction to do it. So by the time we carry out the extensive research and the investigation, scientific investigation, we know the reason. That it is not because judges who are trying those matters, Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, it's not that because they love those judges accused of corruption, or they hate them, or they are trying to shield them. No. They are only doing so to ensure that the executive does not take control of the judiciary. I think that's just a major finding. Okay. That's major finding.
You were once quoted to have said that there is no such thing as judicial corruption.
Yes.
How do you explain?
I still maintain that there is nothing called judicial corruption. It is just a mere name calling. Yes, there are rotting eggs on the bench. There are many in the time past. Even yesterday, tomorrow, there will continue to be bad eggs. Among every 12, They are always a Judas. But the way it applies in the judiciary, so does it in the executive. Same way in the legislature. Why don't we have legislative corruption? Why don't we have executive corruption? Why judicial corruption? It's just mere name calling. In every Nigeria, there is nobody that is not corrupt. In fact, I can say worldwide, there is nobody who doesn't have element of corruption in. What only differs from country to country is the instrumentality of controlling, of checkmating corruption. Why in Nigeria, our system encourages corruption. In the advanced climb, their system rejects and abhor corruption. It is systemic thing. Why our system preaches and allow the spread and the perpetration of corruption. Other systems repel and dispel the tendency of corruption. So if you say a judge is corrupt, well, a judge may be corrupt, but that does not mean judiciary is corrupt. Individual may be corrupt. That does not mean the system is corrupt. In fact, the judiciary cannot be corrupt. It is those who are manning there that can be corrupt. So if the president is corrupt, the legislature is corrupt, we are not saying legislative corruption. Nobody has set out legislative corruption, no? We have not had executive corruption. But what we preach around is judicial corruption. Judicial, as if it is only in the judicial arm that there exists corruption. I think the major reason why the people tends to exaggerate the level of corruption in judiciary is just because of the sacred temple of justice they occupy. Everybody expects perfection from them, but they've forgotten that we are all Nigeria. We are born, we have drink the water of corruption. We are born into it. It has become part of our DNA. In fact, corruption has become a cultural thing in Nigeria. It has become custom of the people. No matter the degree of legislation that you may make in Nigeria, it can never stop corruption. No matter if you bring 30 of Olukayode to man EFCC, it will never stop corruption. It may reduce it. The only way we can bring corruption behind us is to ensure that we have efficient system that will control the spread of corruption, that will discourage corruption, and not because what we do in Nigeria is to run after those who commit corruption. We don't have a very good system in ensuring there is no corruption. And if that is what we are doing, to prosecute corruption, then we are going to continue to fail because the harm would have done while we are chasing after it. But if we set up a machinery where all form of corruption can be arrested before they are committed, then it will do us more good than spending thousands, millions of naira prosecuting the corruption here and there.
Are you saying there is no solution to getting out the corruption?
The solution to corruption is simple, very simple, very simple, very simple. We know everybody has the corruption DNA in itself now because we say it has become a cultural thing. Then the solution should look more into discipline, how to curb indiscipline. Because corruption itself is not a crime. Corruption is not a crime. It's just a generic name for all sort of financial indiscipline or moral indiscipline. There's no legislation that has described or defined corruption to be crime. It is acts or omissions that the law has prescribed. Then we now put corruption as their generic name to cover all of them. So corruption itself is not a crime in Nigeria. It's not. Okay, so to control corruption, we just need to come back home. Once we are able to tackle immorality, corruption will stop. Because the only thing that we beg or care for, or that we are trying to condemn in Nigeria, is financial corruption, branch of corruption. Other areas that gave back to financial corruption are left uncontrolled. That is our immorality. There is high level of immorality in Nigeria. Even the EFCC itself is not free of corruption. The last 3 leaders, head of EFCC, they left office on account of issues bordering on corruption. I'm not talking of the incumbent one. The man is still doing a fantastic job, only that he talks too much. He talks too much. A leader of that kind of organization should talk less and more of action. Let us learn how to be plain and how to be frank where we need to be. Once we're able to control immorality, all form of immorality in discipline, then we are on the right track. And that begins from childhood. When you get to bus stop, you queue. Those are the way to check corruption, because charity begins at home. A child goes to school, came back with 3 or 4 Bibles. When you give him one, and your parents, rather than condemn it, you pat him at the back. Good boy, you are encouraging corruption. I was in a class one day when I was asking my students, because I'm a lecturer somewhere, in Christian University to be precise, Abeokuta. I asked the students, who is not corrupt? The majority of answers I got in the class surprises me. All the students agree that we are all corrupt, one way or the other. I want now give a very good example. I said, why do you agree that we are all corrupt? He said, right from birth that we have been corrupt. I said, wow. He said, okay, when he was young, he remembered that when he's trying to do something, immediately, probably the mom beat her or beat him, immediately give him breast. He take breast. So that giving breast to a child is like bribing them. I said, well, you are right. You are right. I equally remember a friend of mine, he's late now, he once said, when he wants to go out, the child will be crying. Daddy, I will follow you. We say, no, wait, I'm coming. I want to go and buy something for you. That my friend will say, yeah, stop encouraging these boys. Tell them plain that I'm not taking you out. He's not going to die. Let's teach them the truth from inception. Don't start deceiving a child that doesn't even have control over you. And that is the practice now. If you want to go out, you don't want your child, okay, I'm coming. You know, corruption is not an area that you have a textbook, so to say, on. There are thousands of articles. There are thousands of research work. There are thousands of theses on corruption. The field of corruption is so complex, so wide, that nobody can say he knows everything about corruption. We have read a lot, many articles, many journal work, so many of them that have written, but each of these works targeted different aspects of corruption. Like my own now, my own is legal and institutional challenges in prosecution. I work on the premise that some judges are corrupt and they were taken to court. Why did the prosecution fail to ensure corruption, despite the thousands and tons of evidence on the social media that they are corrupt? That's what we're actually investigating. So the branch of corruption is so wide, so complex, and so even delicate to understand. Nobody can say he knows it all about corruption, because the field is keep opening and keep expanding. We call it open field. Corruption is an example of an open field. It's still open. It's keep evolving. Keep evolving. We study so many countries. I travel as far as Denmark to see how they address, particularly the area of judicial corruption there. And if you get there, you see fantastic measures put across. Today in Nigeria, if a judge is appointed, it is the governor that will come and sue me, and you say you don't want interference, or judicial interference, you don't want it, and it is the governor that will sue him. It is the governor that even appoint judicial officer, and the governor that even fire. There was somebody who asked me that it is NJC. Who is NJC? Under section 158 of the Constitution, 158 of the Constitution. Who is NJC? NJC is just an extended hand of the president. It is the president that appointed them, but they are acting for the president. So it is who pays the pipers that dictate the tune. We know that the best of our judicial officers are there, but they act at the instruction and at the instance of the president. In fact, let me burst a bubble. If a judge is suspended today or removed from office, if the president refuses to assent to it or write a white paper on it, or the governor, if it is a state, refuse to we have many of them back on the bench who the NJC itself has recommended for suspension and for dismissal. But because the president or the governor body language does not suit it, or there is no white paper on it, they return back to the bench and they continue what they are doing there. We say who pays the piper, they take the tune. But the crop of judges that we have on bench today, particularly at the apex courts, they are doing their best to ensure the balanced issue. Cases are won and lost at the pleading sections when you are settling pleadings. No judge in Nigeria that will see white and call it black. We may play on white, Snow White, China white, we may play on white, different kind of white. But there's no one that will expressly see what is white and call it black. There's no judge that will see that a candidate A whether of ruling party or whatever, lost election that will say you win. No. But there are instances of 50-50. 50-50. The best will now prevail. I won't say more than that.